That was so interesting. Oh, we are live. We are back to it. Hello, hello. Welcome in, everybody. We're excited that you're joining us. Hope you're back to it. Hope you had a good Thanksgiving time. I know that I did, and we were kind of talking before. I think you did as well, Dr. Katie. How are you, and how was your Thanksgiving?
Yeah, it was fantastic. We I was just telling you, we have adult kids, so 19 and 21. And so we go on cruises for Thanksgiving, and it is so fantastic to just be away and unplugged and everything else. So doing a lot of catching up now after being unplugged for a week, but it's so worth it to be able to do that with the family.
I love it. I love it. Well, we had a good-ish week. I'll say ish because we have two young kids, as you know, and some of you out there may not know. We have a 2.5-year-old girl and a 9-month-old boy, and it was our first time traveling with them in the car. And it was also the first time them being in the same room together.
Oh,
And so we learned a lot. It was interesting, and it was not restful. It was not a restful week, but we did it, and we feel better for it.
yeah, it's definitely an adventure when you've got little ones, and I mean, it is just such a it's funny though because when you're in the middle of it, it's like, "Oh, this is chaos." But it it's so cliche. It goes so fast, and so, all the different stages in life, it's so cool to be on that journey with them. But, I look at pictures of my kids now when they were the age that yours are now, and it's like they're so sweet, and it's I don't want to go back to it, but I sure wish I would have lived in it a little more, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I think that's the thing that potentially keeps me more present than I probably normally would have is friends like you that are like, "Oh, it goes fast, it goes fast, it goes fast." I hear that 37 times a week, so I'm like, "Okay, I better listen." It seems like people who've come before me understand that this goes fast and just trying to be as present as we possibly can, just enjoying every single second. So,
Yeah, and it's so funny because I feel like it, not to be insult, you're so young, but also when I talk to you, you're so mature about, being a family man and being a business owner and all those things. And I think of how naive and immature I was when my kids were little. I just didn't know what I didn't know, and I didn't have great influences in my life to teach me. So, I love the way you live with your family. And Chelsea Law, one of our good friends, says, let me pop it up here. I reminded myself of this all weekend. My kids will only be this age for the holidays once.
yeah.
It's so true. It goes so fast. And I didn't realize early in my career, I didn't unplug. So I was working while I was on vacation. I was answering phone calls. I was doing emails. And it's like, I wish I wouldn't have done that. So I love that so many of you all with little kids are owning your lives and setting priorities with family.
It's really cool. It feels like a weird little support system that's been created. I know I message Chelsea whenever I see her post something about her family and Davin Gordon with his kids, who both of them are a month apart from my kids, and it's Abe is the same way. His kids are the same age, a month or so away, and so it's almost like this support system and like just being very real. Like, hey, this is really really hard. Actually, very similar to business, like, hey, this thing's really really hard, and like we got to stick together in this thing if we're gonna get through it unscathed or get through it alive or get the most out of this opportunity.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny because I got feedback from one of my speaking engagements, and like overwhelming, the feedback was fantastic. And then someone said, she talks about her family too much. And I thought, you're kind of a jerk. Like, tell me
Yeah,
about your family situation that me talking about work-life balance, or not even balance, but just my family and all of that offends you. Like, get out of the room. You've got bigger problems than that. So I cheer for you all. And if there's any jerk out there that doesn't support, how you lean into your family, tell me. I'll punch them in the nose for you.
I love it. I love it. Well, I mean, I think that's so amazing. And it kind of rolls into what we're talking about. But first, if any of you are listening out there, the few that are currently and the more that are rolling in, hey, let us know below what you guys did for Thanksgiving. We'd love to pop it up on the screen and just kind of celebrate what you guys did. And how was your family time as well? But today, we're talking about setting and achieving bold business goals. And I love it because I don't know about you, the first thing I think of is just the intentionality. And just like we just talked about with family, is being incredibly in the moment and intentional about being a parent and having kids and being with them and not being on our phones and making sure we're doing things quote unquote right, whatever the heck that even means. I don't know. But
Yeah.
it's the same thing with being a business owner or trying to be a business owner or setting these goals that allow us to achieve what we're setting out to achieve. So we're not just kind of like floating through space, just doing the stuff, but we're actually here to accomplish something. We're here for a mission. We're here for a purpose. We're here to help others or whatever that is to you. So I love this topic. I love this. And I know you and I and your team, we talk about what we're trying to achieve and these goals and how can we reach them often. So when you hear that with your team or whatever it is, how does that set with you?
Yeah, and it takes me back to, that quote or, that saying of, if your dreams aren't big enough that they scare you, or if your dreams don't scare you, are they big enough? And I think, when we think about, our goals as an organization, when we think of our goals at Catalyst and then my personal goals, like they should be big and they should be bold and they should be scary, and it takes work. And so I love this topic as well. I think it's so important for us to talk about these big goals that we want to put forth for ourselves and our organizations.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I know if I think back to the last 11, almost 12 years now, I can look at literally every single year and tell you which one had goals that we're striving for and which ones didn't, based off what we actually achieved, but also based off happiness levels as well. There's something about having an actual end goal in mind. Like business for me parallels sports. I played basketball, football, track, growing all the way through, was blessed to play football in college, and there was a mission. Like there wasn't one thing that coach had us do that was happenstance. Like
Mhm.
literally down to the minute, we had this clock that would go off every 5-minute increments, and we had a place to be, and there was no wasted time. And I'm like, so intentional. There was a goal for every minute set, and I just wonder, what if we took that same thing for our business, where we're not just like doing coffees to do them, and we're not just like making the stuff to make the stuff. We're not just posting on social media to post on social
Mhm.
media. We're not just hiring people to hire people. We're not just
Mhm.
setting a prospecting meeting without any flow to how that prospecting meeting is actually going to go and what do you say in what spot. There's a goal for it and there's a strategy for it, and I use this word a lot for the ones who are out there. There's a system for
Yeah.
it as well. So what does that
Yeah.
look like for you guys at Catalyst?
Yeah, it's so true, and it's funny because we work with organizations so often, and part of session 1 of leaders is lead. Who are you as a leader? And when we do the corporate session of that, and what we're going to be bringing to the Elevate Biz, so session 1 is really, what's your rallying cry? What are you working towards? What are your values, and how are you getting that done? And what's so eye-opening when we're working with corporate leaders is we'll do our session 1, and about halfway through, we shift from who are you as a leader, but how are you leading your organization? And we did this with an executive team recently, and it was like, they have their mission, they have your values on your website, but then it was like, does everyone understand what that is? Does everyone understand what that looks like? And so I love Patrick Lencioni. I'm sure most people know that about me at this point. But they have something called the rallying cry. And so you have these thematic goals. And so you do this every 3 to 6 months. So you don't change your overarching mission, but you change your rallying cry. What are we focused on right now? And then everything trickles down to that. And at Catalyst, we currently use this. We've used this in our previous career. What are we working towards right at this moment? And then how are we moving everything towards it? And that's why we make sure that we're all on the same page going in the same direction.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, that's a big one there because there's actually an end goal there. And then you work back the steps to actually how you achieve that. And now we talk a lot about this in the personal development world, the professional development world. But I've noticed with our clients, we actually have them open up their calendars and say, okay, where are those triggers, those checkpoints or whatever it is to say, did we reach the goals or not? Like, oh, they're not here. So that is one of the biggest things is you set the goal, but there has to be an end date. So I love that 3 months, 6 months, there is an end goal in mind so we can reassess. Hey, are we close? Did we hit it? Kind of where are we at as far as this goes? Like a relay race,
Yeah.
there's 4 people in a relay and you can get the time for each person, but you can kind of see how they're doing based off each leg. Like, oh, they're not going to win, or oh, they're not going to beat their own record. You have to have those for your business as well. And my district manager, Brooke, we talked about it this morning in our meeting about she's reading a book. It's like a 12-week something or other. And she's pretty obsessed with those 3 months as well. Each quarter is its own little microcosm as well, where we're pushing for those 90 days or so because we're trying to reach whatever we're trying to reach in that. But then we work back as well, where there's daily goals, there's weekly goals, and there's monthly goals. Because without those checkpoints, it's hard to just look at it in 90 days and say, oh, wow, we achieved it. There's those check-ins, daily, weekly, monthly actions that lead us to the success of the 90 days. Then you put 3 of those together and all of a sudden you have a full year of success.
Yeah. Yeah. And Jenna said check-in points are such an important part people can miss. And it's true. I mean, I see it too often, and it still happens no matter how much we talk about it. People will do a strategic plan and they will put it in a super pretty binder. I'll never forget early in my career, like we would sit around a table for 3 days and create a strategic plan and then have these really pretty binders with really pretty tabs. And then you'd put it on the shelf and it's like, okay, but then what? How are you getting there? Do we ever pull it out again? And I think that that's why it's so important to be doing that.
Yeah, it's up there just collecting dust. I say the same thing with my clients about writing their business plan. It's the same thing. That thing has to be a working business plan, has to be the roadmap for your business. So you don't just write it, then it just put it on the shelf and it's up there just collecting dust. So very, very important.
And whether we've been in business for, 3 months, 3 years, or 30 years, we're always evolving, we're always changing, we're always moving. And so to constantly be checking that. And so at Catalyst, we do quarterly wonder meetings. So Working Genius, we love it. And so we'll take a half a day to wonder, are we on track? Are we doing what we say we're doing? Are we serving who we say we're going to serve? And then a bigger question is, are we getting distracted by shiny things? Because we all have things we're passionate about that take away from our business focus. And so we've got to stay on path and on track.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the oldest thing in the book as far as like goal setting is like SMART goals. I think we've learned that all as like young kids, maybe even as early as middle school, about having SMART goals, and I can't remember the acronym for them right now because I haven't dabbled in that in a long time, but it's so smart. Like I know one of them is measurable, like we're talking about now. Like how can you measure the thing so you know what it means to actually be able to hit that? I know the other one is I think it's attainable. Like not saying, hey, I want to bench press 900 pounds by the end of 2023, something that is actually attainable. Maybe it's a little bit of a stretch. Maybe someone in the comments, if you're listening in, could actually look this up for me. I should have had this already on the side. Jen, if you're out there, what's the S? What's the S? I know T is timely. So yes, we have this goal, but it can't be, hey, in the next 50 years, I'm going to increase our sales by 5%. It has to be something that's actually timely and sooner so you can actually use those. And then the R is realistic. So like what actually makes sense. What I think of when I hear realistic is something that, again, is attainable, but like it makes sense for what we're doing here. Like if is a business goal, it has to be business related, and then specific as well. Like something that's so vague. hey, I would just want to increase sales. That's not specific enough.
Right.
So anyways, I don't know how those hit you, but I think those are something that we have heard and we learn about at a young age. And I still hear about those in meetings and everything because they matter. It's a very specific system that will help you have a roadmap for creating these goals that actually matter.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks, Jenna. She's always there
Yeah. Oh, I
covering us.
fumbled
So
through that one, y'all. I fumbled through that one, but we got there.
love her. Thank you. Thank you. But yeah, it's so right. And I just, as we're talking, it's like that whole, how do you eat an elephant one bite at a time? Like, yes, we want big, lofty, bold goals, but then to break that down, like, how are we going to achieve it? How are we going to get there? What are we going to do? And so having those SMART goals underneath those to, really make sure that, that we can get there. I tell the story all the time. I used to work at a casino. I was the HR director at a casino. And when I first started, they all had a bonus structure. Every employee had a bonus structure. And so there was this like barometer next to the time clock. And I'm like, within the first couple of weeks, like I went over and I was like shading in the barometer, like, you're so close, you're almost there, you're going to make it. Yay. And someone pulled me aside and said, just so you know, I've worked here forever. We never get it. The way it's set up, we can never attain it. So first of all, it's demotivating. And second of all, it's insulting. So stop doing that. Oh. And I was like, oh, okay, well, let's just take this off the wall and stop doing it. But I think about that with goals as well. If you set these goals that just are wildly unattainable, and you're just setting yourself up for disappointment, and, you're going to get demotivated. And so for me to be like, hey, we want to be a $12 million company by the end of the year. Well, Katie, that's lovely. You got a month left. So, but we can set ourselves on a track that in 3, 5, 10 years to get there. And so making sure that they're also realistic. I love that part of SMART.
Yeah. Yeah. And actually you said something earlier that kind of triggered me as a coach. You said you came in and you guys would do these 3 days strategic planning. And, I know it's a 1 day or a 3 day or something like that is the norm. I just feel like that's way too short. And I know we're guilty of it at Yogurtini as well, where we do these strategic planning sessions for the next year where it's 1 day, 2 day, 3 day. A lot of times we would do our quarterly meeting, all the managers together, and it's at Head Rush Coffee in the Northland, and we'll be there for half a day, sometimes a full day, going through everything that happened and everything we're about to do and the plan for the next year. And it's so great in theory, but we didn't give it enough time to marinate or really just kind of sit with, hey, can we really do this here? Or is this just an excitement because we're sitting around this round table and one person said something and we're running with it? So for me, I think one of the best things, especially as 2023 comes to an end and 2024 is coming quickly up, and we're trying to figure out our goals and what we want to achieve and what we're going to shed and get rid of and what we're going to embrace as new. Gosh, we give ourselves a time to just breathe with it. Like there's a little over 30 days until 2024 starts. If you haven't already started your strategic planning and your goal setting for the next year, I would start now. And don't put it in stone here in 3 days or even 7 days. Give yourself these 30 days or up until right before Christmas starts, especially if you're taking that time from Christmas to New Year's off, to just let it breathe. Create a plan, sit it down, walk around the block or take the weekend and then pick it back up. So you can make that just a really firm thing. We've actually taken all of Q4. Brooke and I have been doing it all of Q4, giving ourselves a chance to say, is this the plan that is going to get us where we want to go come time the end of 2024? Because we are so bad at getting overly excited. Brooke, and me. We'll get overexcited and have all these different things. And then all of a sudden, a week later, we're like, no, we're going to change it and go over here. So how can you make really firm plans that will get you to where you need to go, while also knowing there's going to be things that will come in and added and change and all that kind of stuff. There are going to be some goals that you can achieve in this new year.
Yeah. And I think everything you said makes so much sense. And it's, having the plan of how you're going to do it, how you're going to review it, how you're going to track it, how you're going to stay on track, but not lose focus. I mean, it's so easy. We can lose focus so easy because depending on, the type of business we're in, or, maybe something comes along, and I'm guilty of this all the time because I'm just like, oh, that sounds good. Let's do that. And it's like, I need my ladies to be like, no, this is what we're going to do. So we actually, as part of our weekly meeting, in our wonder section of our meeting, we talk about our goals. So what we do is we create our goals for the year. We have a running spreadsheet of the goals and how we track them. We pop them up during each weekly meeting. Just really, are we on track? Are we moving towards that direction? What are we doing? And so it's not this like deep wonder conversation of, are these the right goals, or are we doing it? It's more like a check-in of our goals. How are we doing? Are we on track? And at that point, we may say, hey, we need to have a longer strategic conversation. And so let's schedule something. But we're making sure that we're always moving in that direction. And so if you ask any of us, like, what are your goals for the year? We know what the goals are that will, one, create impact, which is important to us, and then create income that will, keep our lights on and keep us moving forward. And I think oftentimes too, like, organizations try to have too many goals and they try to make them way too complicated. And so that's the other part that I love about, be specific, but also make them realistic. And so don't try to be everything to everyone all the time. And I think where organizations make a mistake is they might have 20 different goals that they're working on. And it's like, that's too much.
Yes. Yeah, keep it simple. Keep it simple so everyone can even understand, what are we trying to achieve here? Because to you, it may make sense, the person setting out the goals, but to everyone underneath you, especially if you're just saying, hey, here's our goals from the year, and you don't include them, it gets really hairy when it didn't come from inside of them to be able to achieve these things. So that would be my next piece of advice, is include your entire team.
Yeah.
I promise you, buy-in will explode. Okay. People will feel empowered. If you delegate to them, they will love it so much. If they're also in on the planning process and it's not just handed down from the top. So have a bottom-up approach instead of that. Like, ask each wing, ask each department, ask each level, if you have those, hey, what's your input on this? And again, you're the leaders, you're the CEO, the CFO, the COO, whatever that is. You still make the ultimate decision, but include your team, especially for a business like mine. We have 55 employees. Right now we have 40-ish because it's slow season. A lot of times they're the front line. They're working at night when it's busiest on the weekends. And so we may work majority of the hours, but they're working at the busiest times. And so they see things and hear things from customers that we don't. So how foolish would it be for us not to include them in the conversation? So include your entire team and just get a diversity of thoughts and ideas and feedback and constructive criticism on that. And then the next thing I would say is KPIs, key performance indicators. You can call them goals. I love to call them KPIs when it comes to it, because the KPIs, tracking the actual numbers of it, are going to almost be the bumpers. I use this analogy a lot. If you're bowling, you're putting up those bumpers, and the KPIs can keep you on the straight and narrow to know, are we going in the right direction? Are we going way off in left field? And the end are the pins, i.e. your goals, to make sure you actually hit those.
Yeah. I had to lean back and stretch. So shameless plug for one of my good friends, Corey Shearer. He has a brand new book that actually just came out today called Closing the Trust Gap. So his doctoral research is all about trust in the workplace. But when you're talking about involving everyone, at the beginning of his book, he talks about an experience that his wife and him had at a fast food restaurant. And one of the employees said, his wife said, I ordered a large tea, not a small. And the employee said to her, like, I don't get paid enough for this. And I just thought, oh my goodness, like, think about that. So, when we think about our organization, if we say, okay, our goal, and so we're going to, make $1 million this year. but how are we taking care of our people? Are we leaning into, those that are most important to us? Like when we take care of our people, when we have trust in our organization, when we have a strong culture, the profits are going to take care of themselves. And so when you were talking
Yeah.
about that, it just made me think, because I just got his book yesterday and started reading it last night. And it's such a great book. And it really talks about how we bring everyone into the conversation. And so when you're talking about, your goals and setting all that up, getting everyone's voice in there is so important. And so it just triggered the first chapter of the book that I read last night. So
Yeah.
I love it.
Gosh, that's so good. Yeah, it really it matters so much. And I can tell you that's one of the biggest mistakes I've made over my almost 12 years now, 11 and a half years is, thinking I am so team focused and thinking that I'm so good at building a community inside the business, but still having high turnover and not understanding why. And it was that fact of, yes, I treated people well. And yes, I talked to them like they were humans and all that kind of stuff, but never really got their feedback on things and said, hey, what do you think? Or what do you care about? Or what drives you? It was always, here's what we're going to accomplish. We're Yogurt Team because we're this, or here's what we're going to do. And here's what we mean to the city. And here's why Yogurt Team means a lot to you. And let's make sure we move in a way that the customers know the same thing. And it's like, that's really cool. But, in one breath, I'm saying, bring your whole self to the table and showcase who you are. And then in the next breath, I'm saying, hey, here are your talking points and here's what you need to feel. And here's what you need to believe. And gosh, that really doesn't scream, I care about your goals. I care about your thoughts. And so I just think it's so incredibly important in that way. And to plug a book that I love is The Great Game of Business. Mm-hmm. It's this book that's talking about, hey, open it all the way up to your team. Let them know what the focus is. Let them know the profitability. Let them know what the goals are and let them have a say in it, because it increases buy-in, increases empowerment, increases them feeling like they have a stake in exactly what you're doing. And so, before we make the outer goals, I'm a huge proponent of making inner goals first with your team and kind of shoring up the foundation and conquering within the walls and then going out from there.
Yeah. It's so important. And when we have people all going in the same direction because they understand the goals, they were part of the goal setting, they're going to own them like they're their own. It's you said this earlier, when we just decree, here's our goal for the year. And when I worked in higher ed, it was so this just makes me think. I was sitting in a meeting and the vice president was like, okay, here's our enrollment numbers for the year. And one of the people that work in admissions is like, we've never achieved those goals. I don't know where you think or how you think we're going to ever achieve those goals, but it's never happened in my 13 years that I've been here. And I just sat to myself and thought, oh my goodness, is this what we based budget on? Is these like lofty goals? And I think so often organizations, whether it be higher ed, whether it be, a service service organization, it's like, okay, we're gonna sell this amount of stuff. And then we kind of try to back into it. And it's like, no, we can't set these goals that we've never attained, because then we're going to set ourselves up for failure. So we got to make sure that we are setting ourselves up for success, and that we're not trying to set a goal to an unattainable budget, if that makes sense.
Yep. 100%. What it just made me think of is Simon Sinek and talking about, I think I called it the golden circle or whatever it is, starting with why and then how and then what or whatever it was. So like the why has to be first. Like we want to hit, like you said earlier, $1 million in sales this year. Well, why? First off, like that's always my first question with clients is why? What's the significance of that number? What's the significance of doing that? Why? And does that actually align with your purpose and your mission? And actually, like, why? Let's actually just chill for a second, think about it. And then next is like, how? How the heck do we do that when it comes to it? Like, okay, we want to hit $1 million in sales, but like last year we hit 300,000. So like,
Yeah.
can we actually do that? How can we get up to that? And then what? Like, what do we need to do to get there? And a lot of times we start with the what and we work backwards on that. And like, why, how, what? And I know for me, when I first saw that, I was blown away at that, 16, 17-minute TED talk.
Yeah.
So I was like, this is so simple. It just flipped it on its head. I don't know why we all just don't already know this inherently, but I think that we do.
Yeah.
We just don't slow down to be able to even think about it and have those conversations with ourselves to even know.
Yeah.
And I see people creating these goals based off of people who are online that they don't even know, or people who are in similar industries as them. Like, they're doing this, we should also be doing that. Like, that may be true, but it may be incredibly wrong as well.
Yeah. Well, and I just think too when, in the smart attainable, like when we set unattainable goals for people and we don't get their input, we set them up to either fail or to do something that maybe is against their values or, God forbid, unethical or immoral. I
Oh
see
yeah.
it. I've seen it throughout my career where people will lie, cheat, and steal and dang near sell their soul to try to meet their numbers. And it's such we talk about this is such a hard time of year because everyone's trying to close out the year, they're trying to meet their numbers, they're trying to do everything. And if you have these goals that are unattainable, you're now to a point where you're probably wildly stressed. You are probably trying to do anything you can to meet your numbers, because what's going to happen if you don't? And depending on the culture of your organization, are you setting people up to do things that they would not be proud of because they don't want to lose their job, because that's the livelihood of their family? And so it's like, you know, thinking about those kind of things, I think as organizations, we don't think about all of those different pieces. And when we align them cleanly with our values and who we are and our why do we want to get there, we can set ourselves up for a much cleaner fourth quarter,
Yeah.
whether it's
Mm.
right now in December or whether it's our fourth quarter is in June. Whatever it is, when we align better, we can make it cleaner and less stressful for people.
Yep, yep, yep. You nailed it. And the morality of it, the character, the integrity behind what we're doing matters so much. And to even go a step further, I think it is about hitting those end things, because a lot of times our money is attached to it. But, maybe this is something that I think of often because I was always like a super nerdy kid, love video games, all that kind of stuff. But like, I think it's so much fun if we focus on gamification as well. So like, we're focusing on these things that we're trying to achieve, and like, yes, it matters. Yes, we want to get it. Oh, we're type A. We want to reach these things. And regardless, the time's going to pass, and regardless, we're trying to work towards these things. And I think it puts us in such a lighter spirit if we're having fun. So how can you gamify it? Maybe little rewards for yourself along the path, or rewards for your team as well along the journey to be able to reach those things. I'll never forget when I was working at Olive Garden, which probably still is my favorite job that I've ever done. Even with any of the businesses, like, it was just so much fun. All my friends worked there. It was great. But towards the end, they created this game, and it was during Shark Week. And people are obsessed with Shark Week. And there was a specific thing that was tied towards getting a certain thing. So like a positive review, you got a shark sticker, or
Awesome.
you sold a thing of wine, you got this or whatever it was. And it was this huge game, and the numbers were astronomical at the end because we were just having fun. We wanted the
Yeah.
cool shark stickers, we wanted the prizes and everything, and everyone's performance went up because we're having fun doing it. And then we look back and we're like, oh my gosh, we
Mhm.
increased our review count by 500%, and we increased our wine sales by 400%. And like, it was just so crazy. And it didn't just have to be, we have to hit this because we have to hit this because. So gamification, have fun during the process. I mean, a
Yeah.
lot of times this isn't life or death. Sometimes it is. Sometimes it just needs to be fun.
Yeah. Yeah. And, it allows that buy in, whether it be stickers, whether it be t shirts, whether it be a bonus, whatever, it allows that buy in for, for people to understand why why they're doing what they're doing. And, in giving people those specific tasks to do makes it easier. So often we tell people all the time, like, it can be overwhelming when it's like, well, just do whatever. Well, what does that mean? And so to give people specific, and so that's a cool part about the rallying cry is it's like, okay, what's the rallying cry? What are the goals around it? And then what are the procedures? How are we going to get there? And when we understand how we're going to get there, then it helps us, move along and really gamify the work that's done.
Yeah, that's so good. That's so good. I'm excited because, obviously we're bringing our two companies together to create ElevateBiz KC. We're launching in February 7th to be exact. It's our 20-week cohort where we're helping you grow your business at every spot, not just the hard skills, not just focusing on, the vision, your business foundation, your product or service, marketing, sales, systems, customer acquisition, all those kinds of things. But we're also pulling Dr. Katie's 24 plus years of soft skills, leadership, resiliency training to be able to help you on that side, really help you what's going on between your ears. And like the last thing is we're creating positive habits when it comes to it. And one of those things really is goal setting. It's really trying to get the most out of you and your team, and goals is a very large chunk of that. And so again, we always say each week, if you have questions, please reach out to us. You can reach out to us at elevatebizkc.com, also on social media, or you can reach out to me at Isaac Lee Collins on all platforms, or Dr. Katie on all platforms as well. But we're just so excited about this so we can continue to help businesses and business owners thrive in their leadership, but also their business development, so they can then elevate, hence the name, so they can go out and serve the Kansas City community, but also just the metro at large with whatever your product or your service is.
Yeah, and I should say, we want to thank everyone who attended our Global Entrepreneur Week session. That was so much fun, and we kind of gave a quick peek behind the curtain of some of the work that's going to be done. And we just covered a couple of the skills, and I mean the intensity of the room of people that came in as strangers, and I mean literally within an hour we're like, we should really talk about doing this as a business. Like, we
Yeah.
should really consider this. I mean, the creativity in the room was fantastic, but it just made me just think more and get more excited about the work that we're doing together and the work that we're going to do with the people in the ElevateBiz KC cohort. Like, when we create this 20-week program, we knew it was going to have impact because we're bringing all the skills together. But just to even see the opportunity just in that room was really cool. So I can't wait to see who the participants are going to be. I know we've been talking to several people, and they're really interested in jumping in. And so we're going to limit the cohort. We're not going to have this massive room of people. We want it to really be a tight-knit group that comes together and supports each other and cheers each other on. So let us know if you're interested. If you have questions, we'll be happy to share all of the information with you.
Yeah. Perfectly said. I got nothing else to add to that. So, I think we're going to be back next week to do another live to talk about another business topic. We love doing these, frankly. It's fun in the moment, but it's even better afterwards when people rewatch these and message us with questions and whatnot. So I love this little community that we're building here on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. That's just attached to our networks here in the Kansas City Metro. So again, if y'all have any questions, please reach out to us. We'd love to help you. If we can't, we will definitely get you connected to one of our friends who can help you with whatever you're working on. And again, if you have any questions about ElevateBiz, we'd love to answer that for you. Any final thoughts on this or just anything in the world, Dr. Katie?
No, I would say just to tie it up with a bow from what we started with, just dream big, be bold, take care of yourself, and more importantly, love your family and friends. Like, I think what we started with about how time goes so fast, December is next week. Time goes so fast. And so it's shocking. So take some time, soak it all in, appreciate the work that you've done this year, and then get ready, because 2024 is just going to be such a phenomenal year. So go all in, and be bold. I'm excited for next year for everybody.
I love it. I love it. Well, thank you, Dr. Katie. It was good seeing you. I'm excited to see you again next week. We'll see y'all over on the ElevateBiz website, and check in with us next week as we talk about another business topic. Love you guys. We'll see you then.
Bye, everyone.